Welcome to the Fun Astrology and Merriman Market Analyst Saturday Financial Podcast. Thomas Miller here. Thank you so much for joining us this last one in September. This is the free weekly newsletter published every weekend on MMAcycles.com by financial analyst and astrologer Ray Merriman. And to review the markets of the week just passed, Ray says this is proving to be a very bullish period for global stock indices following the recent lunar eclipse, conjunct Neptune, and making a grand trine to Uranus and Pluto on September 18th. In fact, this could be a harbinger of what to expect as we enter the Aries vortex next spring, as Saturn begins its 36-year conjunction with Neptune at, guess what, 0 degrees Aries, the world point. This will also be the midpoint of the trine between Uranus and Pluto. It's also the midpoint in time of the new era, AIRA, 2020 to 2032, that began with the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction of December 21st, 2020 at 0 degrees Aquarius, thus ushering in this techno-renaissance we have been experiencing, and will continue with astounding innovations for the rest of this decade. Those are the stock sectors leading this global financial revolution. But back to the present. All global stock indices were bullish last week. In Asia and the Pacific Rim, Australia's ASX and India's Nifty made new all-time highs on Friday. Japan's Nikkei is knocking at the door of the same. Hong Kong and China had huge rallies, ending their long-term bear trends. In Europe, Germany's DAX continued its explosion to new all-time highs on Friday. The Netherlands' AEX also had a good week, but like the Zurich SMI and the London FTSE, it failed to make a new all-time high so far. This could be a sign of intermarket bearish divergence, although it looks more like the DAX is just the leader. In the U.S., there was also a continuing case of intermarket bearish divergence as both the S&P and the Dow Jones Industrial Average roared to new all-time highs. But the usual leader, the NASDAQ, still struggles and remains well short of its all-time high made back in July when the powerful conjunction of Mars, Uranus, and Algol took place. It seems like the stock markets of the world do well under hard aspects this year. In fact, they may seem to be doing well under all aspects this year, perhaps related to the 14-year Jupiter-Uranus conjunction of April 20th that was the focus of the Forecast 2024 book that projected something like this would happen this year. And these explosive rallies have not been limited to stocks. Gold made another new all-time high on Thursday, one day after we issued a special report to all MMA subscribers regarding the yellow metal. The MMA Cycles report is linked from this week's newsletter, and, Ray says, I think it will prove to be a very valuable guide for gold trading these next few weeks. Bitcoin also had an excellent week, breaking above the neckline of a bullish inverted head and shoulders pattern, right in line with a recent report we had sent out here as well. Bitcoin is nearing its all-time high, too, after a difficult few months. Now the short-term geocosmics. First of all, a quote from a YouTube video, Amanpour and Company, published September 16th, 2024. Quoting, "Many blame human nature, that there is something wrong about human nature that causes us to be so self-destructive. The problem is not with our nature, it's with our information. If you give good people bad information, they make bad decisions. They make self-destructive decisions. The basic misunderstanding is about what information is. Information isn't truth. The basic function of information is not to reveal the truth. Its basic function is to connect large numbers of people into networks. The easiest way to connect people is not with truth, but with fictions, fantasies, and mass delusions." End quote. A lot happened, Ray says, in the financial markets over the past 2 weeks following the lunar eclipse conjunct Neptune and trine Uranus and Pluto. Several stock indices and gold made new all-time highs. Silver and Bitcoin are on the move up. All of this euphoria has been created by central banks lowering their benchmark interest rates on that lunar eclipse conjunct Neptune. Now the question is, how long can this euphoria and bullishness last under the Jupiter waning square to Saturn aspect that is in effect until mid-June 2025? We also need to bear in mind the important Saturn in a waxing semi-square to Pluto aspect that began in early May and will last through January 27, 2025. This one is important because its second passage just took place in the middle of last week, as many stock indices and gold made new all-time highs. These are two important long-term geocosmic signatures, which I addressed at last week's MMA investment retreat, related to the past performance of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The presentation also reviewed the data related to the Saturn-Neptune conjunction of February 2026, plus or minus 10 months, and on the midpoint of the 2025 to 2027 Aries vortex. Big things are happening now in the cosmos, and bigger things are coming up. Aside from these long-term transiting aspects, next week we'll also witness a solar eclipse at 10 degrees Libra, October 2nd. It doesn't make any major aspects to other planets, nor are there other major planetary aspects in effect to one another taking place. But the eclipse may be important by the simple fact that it finds the Sun and the Moon both in air signs. These air-air combinations are important solar-lunar reversal signatures, especially for silver. That is, when the Sun is in an air sign, the 3 or 4 times during the month that also finds the Moon in an air sign usually coincides with at least one of those 2 to 3 day intervals coinciding with a steep sell-off in silver. The first of these 4 in this instance was last Monday, which was not a steep sell-off. The second will be this Wednesday and Thursday. The third and fourth instances will occur Friday, October 12th, and then Monday, October 21st. These latter 2 are mostly over a weekend, so we'll want to pay close attention to the one that occurs this week with the solar eclipse. The following week may be more important from a geocosmic standpoint, for it will be heavily weighted with Jupiter aspects. On October 8th, Mercury will trine Jupiter, one day before the big guy, Jupiter, turns retrograde, conjunct Donald Trump's natal sun. Then on October 13th, the Sun will make a waxing square to Jupiter. If Trump is going to get momentum back in his favor, then this is the time to do so. Amidst these fine Jupiter dynamics are also 2 Pluto signatures of importance. Pluto turns direct October 11th and then is squared by Mercury as it enters Scorpio, Pluto's home field, on October 13th. Someone gains and someone loses. As written before, whoever is leading in the polls September 10th through October 10th tends to lose momentum, and often the race, in several of the most recent elections. I think it is safe to say that Kamala Harris has been leading in the polls. Now comes the test to see if she can make it to the finish line. Perhaps she is the one to reflect these Pluto signatures, as they are in hard aspects to her own natal Mercury in early Scorpio. She must be careful of what she says now, or of information about her past that may be sensationalized. Mercury-Pluto or Mercury-Scorpio combinations can pertain to times of exposure regarding something that has been hidden, kept secret, or an effort to undermine one in some way. The term muckraking comes to mind with Mercury-Pluto combinations. So hold on to your seats. This is the last month before the election. It's not going to be calm. It's not going to be boring, although I am certain many will be more happy once it's over and life returns to normal. Except life may not be returning to any kind of normal for the rest of this decade. Think excitement, newness, and innovation, and embrace change for the better if it's possible. It is, after all, a new era, AIRA. And that completes this week's newsletter. Good one. You can tell he is fired up from that conference last weekend. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. We are doing our Level Up meditation on Sunday night. We're going to be doing a Burt Goldman quantum jump this weekend. If you want to know what that's all about, jumping into a new reality, come join us on the YouTube channel Fun Astrology, 8 p.m. Sunday evening. Have a great rest of the weekend. We'll be back next week with a full week of podcasts and the eclipse, as Ray mentioned, starting on Monday morning.